On today's podcast, I am so excited to sit down with my dear friend, Zoe Unlimited. So, I've known Zoe for quite some time now, and I think she has such an incredible story. From growing up in China and moving to Canada to chasing her dreams here in LA, all while navigating the ups and downs of family expectations and the pursuit of love. She's one of the most authentic and resilient people that I've ever met. So, in this episode, we're diving into everything: her relationship with her parents, her journey as a content creator, and her plans for the future. I can't wait for you to hear her story and the lessons that she's learned along the way. So Zoe, to me, you are a trailblazer on YouTube. I've been watching your video essays for quite some time, and I think you're just astonishing.
Well, thank you. That
And
means a lot.
no, honestly, massive fan of just your storytelling. And I know this is awkward. I hate giving intros, but I would love for you to give an intro on who you are and what you do.
Sounds good. It's always hard to give an intro for the right context, but hi, my name is Zoe. I am a creator, a lifestyle creator who does a lot of content on anything girlhood. So think fashion, beauty, marketing, pop culture. And I'm very honored to have a community of almost 4 million Gen Z millennial women, and we're just all navigating womanhood, girlhood together through the ever more chaotic landscape of modern digital media and learning everything's telling us how to be a woman and how to define ourselves. So trying to navigate how to find our identities together.
I love that.
Thank
And
you.
you do it so beautifully and eloquently too. And this is who you are right now, but I'd like for us to go back to your early childhood because I want to know who little Zoe was. So, where did
Mm.
you grow up?
So I grew up half in China, Nanjing, China, and half in Vancouver, Canada. And our family moved to Canada when I was around 10 years old.
Wow, do you remember China?
Yes,
What was it like?
very different, very, very
Really? It
different.
was what year was that? That era 80 90s? 90s? You grew up around the 90s or
Uh,
2000s?
Early 2000s was my childhood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was that like? What was pop culture like? What were
Mm,
things you could I mean, I know China's different right now. It wasn't like that back then in 2000, early
I
2000, like
feel
the mega malls and all
oh
the
yeah, mega malls. I feel like now people just like shop online, huh?
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like early 2000s was an interesting time because the economy is booming.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting more prosperity. Everyone's feeling the abundance. And things are just rapidly developing. A lot of exciting things happening. Yeah, a lot of development, a lot of excitement. But I would say growing up in China makes me so grateful for the education system in North
Oh,
America.
really? I would assume the education system would be immaculate in China.
You learn
Just
a lot,
yeah.
not by free will, but
Oh, I
through
see.
force.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. So that's why they have like a very intense structure set up for schooling over there, right?
Structure and discipline are so
Wow.
key. Yeah.
And that was the school for you? Like,
Yeah.
so were you a good student or were you rebellious or
Yeah.
you were
I grew up
rebellious?
being super rebellious. I was in detention often because I
Nice.
love
Free
socializing.
thinker.
Yeah. And it gave me a hard time. I had many instances where my mom was so mad at the school. I saw my mom. I'm just like, Mom, what are you doing? She's like, I'm here to see the principal and talk to her
Oh,
because
wow.
I got punished so severely that I missed out on lunch. And then one of the teachers kind of banged my head on the
Yo,
table.
they're abusive. I heard they're
They
abusive.
are. They make you stand up. They make
Yeah.
you like, they isolate you. They like give you detention. So then afterwards, I had to transfer school to a boarding school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was that like, the boarding school?
I
I've
think
never been to one. I've heard stories about it. Is it like Harry Potter? I always think Harry Potter, honestly, but I've heard horror stories though, so maybe it's not Harry Potter-ish.
it's quite interesting, I would say. I went to boarding school when I was 8, and at the time, I don't think I had the right mind tools to process the experience fully. Only thinking back, did I realize, oh my gosh, I totally felt abandoned at 8 going to boarding school, especially since my parents were also kind of overseas. My mom was giving birth to my sister, my younger sister. So I was like, I kind of felt trapped at boarding school. It was a good experience
Yeah.
overall. More empathetic teachers, thankfully.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, and
Was it an all girls boarding school or an
mixed.
international?
They tried
I
to
see.
be international, but man, my English sucked back then.
Back then? No way. I
Yeah.
would have never guessed.
We had a lot of English lessons, but no. I thought I was like, yeah, I got this. And then when I went to Canada, I was like, oh shoot, I do not have this at all.
Did you feel, I mean, was I would assume because boarding school, you basically live there too. You
Yeah.
live there and you go to school and you
Mhm.
go back home. Like, do you have like a roommate? Is it like
I have like 5 roommates.
that's crazy? So you have like a dorm type of system.
Dorms,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. So
You go home once a week on the weekend, and sometimes my parents would visit me midweek, and I will, like,
oh,
telephone them. At the time, I thought, like, this was fine. I was like, "This is kind of exciting because
yeah.
I'm so grown up now." I'm, like, independent woman
Yeah, you're
at
kind of
8.
forced to grow up,
Yeah.
when you're in this
And
boarding
I
school.
and I prided myself, being, like, a tough, independent kid growing up, and I got a lot of praises from the adults saying, "Oh, Zoe's so independent, blah, blah," but I think deep down, I really did miss home a lot, yeah.
Mm. So you had that stoic outer appearance, but inside you were just like,
Yeah, inside, I was still
oh,
a softie at times.
oh. How are you coping with the loneliness and everything? Because I'd like to. I know when it comes to a lot of creative artist friends that I know of,
Mhm.
um, they suffer from a lot of trauma and they kind of go off into their imagination and that really develops. I'm curious how you were able to cope with. I mean, this sounds like trauma,
Oh,
honestly.
it absolutely
Yeah.
is. I actually did not realize how traumatic of an experience it was until I started reflecting back and through making videos
Yeah.
about dating and so on. So, like, in a sense, YouTube is my journal
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, and that helped me reflect back, way back on like, why am I behaving a certain
That's
way,
so true. YouTube is the greatest online diary
right?
experience. Yeah, you're so right on
It's
that.
super therapeutic. But back to your point,
Yeah.
I think growing up, I always loved the arts.
Mm.
Um, Drawing, painting, they bring me alive and make me just feel a sense of joy that nothing else can bring.
Oh.
Yeah. How about you? Did you have like a go-to way to connect and fill up your world?
Oh yeah. My I honestly I used to have a lot of nightmares about school because it was that traumatizing for me. Because we moved around a lot as a family. So I had to change schools a lot and I
Mhm.
was awkward. It was hard to make friends. And
I
then
can't
bullying.
imagine that.
So I remember this one kid like kicked me in the stomach when I was drawing on the chalkboard because I was
No,
in
why did he do
low
that?
income neighborhoods and the school system was, it was rough. It was rough. And I was just getting beat up a lot. I
Oh
don't
my
know why he did that, but
gosh.
I just wanted to draw on the chalkboard. So yeah, I have a lot of trauma from school. So that's why I was asking you, like, it sounds
Mm,
like trauma, the
it
boarding school experience, because I can't even
absolutely
imagine
was.
experiencing that. And at least I had my mom. I could go home to my mom and
Mm,
I was safe. But you didn't have that comfort.
no.
You were alone if you think about it. And yeah, I don't know if I could have survived, honestly, if I had to do that in a boarding school set. Like, yeah, I would probably completely fall apart.
I'm sure you would have figured it out because it sounds
That's
like,
true.
wow, you had to really protect yourself too from
Of
a
course.
very harmful, like harsh environment.
Of course, of course. I mean, I think as kids, our parents they do their best to try to prepare us for the world.
Yeah.
But, the world is cruel and also sometimes our parents are not equipped with giving us the tools to, be centered with ourselves, draw boundaries, know that when someone is trying to fight with us, sometimes it's not us, it could be a projection from them. Like these are things I wish I knew when I was a kid. But of course, our parents are also kids. They're grown up
Yeah.
kids, and um, I do feel though, trauma can build character though. So, it
Mhm.
created you today going through all of that.
Yeah.
And so okay, so after boarding school, so what years were those? Was that like middle school or elementary school or high school?
Right nearing, so I moved to Canada around the end of elementary school years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
so middle school to high school was
Oh,
all
those
in
were
Canada.
awkward
Oh,
years.
yeah.
Yeah, I did not like those years. Like, how did you feel about that? Like the age of like 11, 12, 13, those awkward phases?
Mhm.
What
I
was it
feel
like for
like
you?
I grew up being super, super extroverted and loud, hence why I got a lot of
Oh,
detention. I fought with boys too at elementary school in China. That did not go very well. Also got punched in the stomach by a boy for different reasons.
yo,
I
these.
picked the fight myself,
Okay,
cannot
okay.
blame anyone
All
else.
right. That's fair.
But going to Canada, man, it was like a totally strange environment and I did not feel safe at all. So I think throughout those years, I became more and more introverted
Mm.
and only recently I took another MBTI test and only recently like came back on the
On
extroversion
E, you're
side.
back to E.
It's near
Wow.
like 50-50, but
Wow.
going back and forth.
Yeah, I know that it can sometimes shift and change as
Mhm.
as you grow older. I should take mine again. I'm curious. I think
Right?
I'm still just going to be I. Okay, so you grow up in Canada,
Mhm.
and what at like what were you doing? Like, did you know what you wanted to do? Were you still trying to figure out where you wanted to go in life? No,
No
you were just
idea. I mean, growing up, I had different dreams, and then one that really stuck with me was fashion design because I really loved the creative expression
yeah.
aspirational aspect of fashion. And yeah, just the glitz, the glam, everything is so perfect to a little girl. So that's something that always stuck with me. But I was also hella scared of becoming a starving artist. I was trying to be a realist in a
Really?
sense.
You're the
Yeah,
opposite of me. See,
really.
that's interesting because I feel like as a kid, I didn't care. I just wanted to be an artist. But for you, you were so grounded and you just knew, like, yeah, if I do that, I'm going to be starving. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on building a career. Did that come from you, or do you think that was suggested by your parents? You were
Def-
influenced by them?
Definitely by external
Oh,
sources.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's only I think I gave up that dream only near the end of high school when I had to pick between continuing IB, International Baccalaureate,
Mm.
or like spending all my time in a studio preparing for a portfolio for fashion design school. And I was like, I heard all these like
Ooh,
stories, right?
yeah.
These stories from, a family friend's daughter who was designing for these major brands and still couldn't pay her rent and her mom has to chip in. And that really like hit me in the face where I'm like, oh, maybe like, was it too childish for me to just want to pursue certain things? But I have to think about surviving on my own and no longer being like a burden on my family financially.
Wow.
Yeah,
You were so mature back then.
I tried.
No, yeah, no,
My
no,
mom
you are.
my mom was like really worried because
She didn't want you to be a designer, right?
um no, she just wanted me to be able to like provide for myself, but
I
she was
see.
worried in other ways because I feel like I'm kind of a late bloomer. I didn't start studying until college. And throughout high school, middle school, I was always like reading manga,
Yeah.
watching reality TV, watching movies, and so on, which thinking back gave me the creative
Oh,
foundation
yeah,
for YouTube
that's the
videos.
library of everything within
Exactly.
you. Yeah.
But at the time, my mom is like, "What are you doing with your life?" Like,
If only she knew, "Mom, I'm investing in my future self right now."
legit, yeah. Just feeding that artist brain and like hunger.
Yes, yeah. Your intuition always knows.
That's
That's
so
what I always tell
true.
people. And it's so interesting how something just turned on where you were like, "All right, time to be hustling and good Asian mode and study." Like that
Yeah.
thing in your brain just turned on. It could do it.
Mhm.
You're capable of it, but your higher self just knew, I want to really just enjoy and absorb and consume and be inspired.
That's so
I think that's
true.
amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you didn't listen to your mom.
I mean, they weren't too strict as helicopter parents. growing up, I was actually very lucky and grateful that my parents were quite liberal. Even in China,
Mm.
a lot of kids were going to like tutor classes. And I was like, hey, dad, I kind of want to do this like thing called tutoring because every other kid is doing it. He's like, okay, go for it. We'll just like pay for it. And I was like, bet. So I did it. And I was like, hey, dad, I kind of hate this. He's like, okay, then let's not do this anymore. And
Oh,
he
wow.
got like a one-on-one from my teacher who was like, everybody in class is getting like tutoring outside academic courses. Why is your daughter not doing that? And my dad is like, well, she doesn't want to. And then they're like, so she's not gonna do it? You're not gonna force her? Which is also partially the reason that my family decided to move to North America. Yeah, it was a huge sacrifice on both my parents' part, and even though I felt abandoned in boarding school, like deep down, now I know that my parents sacrificed a lot and it's coming from love that they do want to build a better future for me.
And that's why they wanted you to have a different education system, right?
Yeah.
Do you think if you stayed in China,
Oh,
it would
I
be
would
different?
not survive. My grades were like always mediocre, sometimes wavering like up a little, fluctuates a
Mm,
little up, a little down, but never like nearing the top. And the education system in China is so focused on outcome and
yeah.
on ranking,
Performance, yeah.
performance based. So
Yeah.
I would not last. I don't think I'm cut out for a bright future there.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, thank goodness you came out here.
They're so restrictive in terms
Yeah.
of like your creativity too.
Yeah.
Everything's a lot more rigid. So I'm really glad I got a lot more freedom growing up in Canada.
Right. But I'm sure that structure, that system was a good foundation for you regardless, because I feel like you're very disciplined.
Oh, thank
Yeah,
you. I
compared to a lot
try.
of creators I meet, honestly. Yeah.
I
But
try.
wait, I'm confused. You say you're not studious, but, I know you went to UCLA. So what was that about?
Um, I would say I'm definitely very lucky in the sense if you put me in any environment, I could do. I think growing up to UCLA, you put me in any environment, whether it's like a very elite school or a very mediocre average school, I will always sometime I will always end up somewhere in the middle and maybe a little above or like just around average, right? I would survive. I think I think I have a built-in mechanism for survival
Yeah,
for
I see
sure.
that. I see that.
So in the sense, I felt lucky that I challenged myself a little bit by doing the IB courses,
Mm.
and then that pushed me to another level. But I was never excelling. I got my first straight A's in UCLA
Wow.
ever. Yeah.
Wow.
You know why? Because my dad, when I got into UCLA, he looks so concerned. He's like, Zoe, you know that certain percentage of people don't graduate, right? I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna get real. It's gonna be real life after college.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
I might not get a job. I better study. And yeah,
That
I
thing turned on in your brain again, huh?
I
Yeah.
never knew I was capable of getting straight A's until UCLA,
Wow.
and I never got a B at UCLA.
How did it feel? Your first straight A's. You're a late bloomer. You really are a late bloomer. Oh
I
my
am. I
gosh.
also started dating really late, but it felt I think that was the first time I was like, "Wait, what else can I accomplish? Like, how much more potential can I tap into?"
Yeah.
And that's basically the gist of my channel. Yeah, just discovering more unlimited potential
That's
for
where the
everyone.
name comes from.
No,
Zoe
but
Unlimited.
funny story, that name found me and not me finding it.
Ooh.
I
Just got
had a
goosebumps.
different Instagram handle before and I was like, this is lame. I want to do social media seriously.
What was the Instagram handle?
It just had my name in it and it
Okay.
was like some
Okay. You don't
random
have to dox
characters.
yourself. It's fine. I won't look it up. I won't look it up. It's
Really?
fine.
And then I went to a random Instagram handle generator and Zoe Unlimited popped off.
Stop,
And I
bro.
was like, it just stood out to me. I was like, this
Wow.
sounds like a data plan, like unlimited, but I like
But
it.
it works. It
I
totally
think
works.
the name found me and I slowly grew
Wow.
more and more into it until we became one.
When did you realize that whole unlimited thing was you?
Mm.
Where you had that epiphany, like, oh my gosh, it all makes sense. A whole me being a late bloomer. I didn't know I pushed my limit. When did that happen?
I think right off the bat at
Oh,
starting
you just
YouTube,
knew. Yeah.
because in the beginning, I just knew I wanted to do YouTube. I didn't even know what I want to make. So I made videos about me getting all my CPA exams done in 2 months, about adulting, about glowing up, my health journey,
Were
wellness.
you doing this for you?
Yes, because
Interesting.
I was also working at a big four in like the financial services,
Oh,
nine
you
to
were
five.
working
Yeah,
at this
there
time.
were there
You
were
you
days.
weren't like a full-time YouTuber then.
No,
Okay.
there were days that I had like 15-hour workdays during busy season,
Yeah.
and I would
Oh,
feel
man.
so tired, but I would be so happy to do YouTube. And I wasn't making any money back
Mm.
then. I made the cringiest videos, and I at the time I was so happy. I was like, someone will have to pay me to stop doing this, and they will have to pay me a lot because this is my freaking hobby,
That's a
man.
signal that this is a green flag if
Yeah.
something energizes you. Wow. So you were when were you posting these videos? Right after your Zoe Unlimited, right? You got the handle,
Yeah.
you go on YouTube, you're uploading content for yourself, but
Mhm.
you have like a full-time job.
Mhm.
When did you realize that you wanted to do this full time? When did you make the decision that I'm going to make a living doing this because I love it so much and it energizes me?
I think only after a few videos that I could see, or I wish that this was my full-time career. But obviously reality still stands in. I only had like a few hundred views, had like less than 100 subscribers,
Wow.
but I just had the delusional confidence. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be at like 100K subscribers by the end of this year. That did not happen, but I did get to it around, no, I said, what I said was, I'm gonna get like 500K subscribers in 1 year.
Ooh, okay.
It didn't happen, but I did get to 100K in 1 year.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's what I always tell people, like put a number out there. Even if it sounds crazy, it's better to put a number than nothing,
for
right?
sure. Did you
Wow.
always know that like you were going to make this your career, or when was the exact moment?
I think for me, the moment I realized I could make it into a career was when a lot of brands were reaching out to me wanting to send me free makeup.
Oh,
And I just made the connection. I'm like, wait, you want to send me free makeup, but you want me to advertise this for free? Or you could pay me because my videos are getting millions of views and people
it's
want to buy these
crazy.
things. So
Yeah.
it just connected. And I was also in college. I was an art student and I was junior year of college. And so I had 1 year left to finish. And in art school, your senior year is essentially your thesis year. You just work on your thesis. Um, and so for me, I thought the greatest thesis could just be starting this YouTube channel. Honestly,
That is so
I'm just going to
true.
do this and I have nothing to lose. So I did that. And within a year, I didn't go back to college because I couldn't, because I was flown to New York. I was flown to LA. And that was when I truly made the decision. I actually have to drop out because this is not going to work out for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, Delulu helps.
It really
Delulu
does.
helps.
It really does.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to know if you also felt the same way, like when you were straddling between the two worlds. When did you know this was time to fully jump and commit into
Mhm.
becoming a full-time YouTuber?
Great question. I would say really early on, because I was so tired working at my 9 to 5, and I was obviously tired afterwards creating content.
What was your 9 to 5,
It
by
was
the way?
public accounting at
Oh my
PwC. It was
gosh.
very draining. The
Yeah.
only reason I joined, in hindsight, is for two reasons. My sophomore year, I landed in a program that secured me I knew would secure me a full-time job, and I wanted to graduate early. So I was like,
Mm.
security,
Mm-hmm.
this feels
Mm-hmm.
safe. And I didn't get to explore afterwards, which I always encourage any college kids and any younger audiences to always like take the
Always.
time for
Yeah,
themselves to explore. Like, don't
absolutely.
rob yourself of that luxury. Another aspect was, out of the three paths that business economics majors at UCLA usually take, are public accounting, consulting, or investment banking. And the first one, like public accounting, was the one that had the least amount of hours. And subconsciously,
Wow.
I always knew I wanted to do something creative on the side. I was like, this seems like I could still potentially have an
Oh,
outside
interesting.
hobby.
Yeah.
Let me just do
This was your
this.
insurance. Like, okay,
Yeah.
stable job, pays the bills, health
Mhm.
insurance, but this gives me that window to play.
Yes. Yeah. Even though it was a small window, which is why the pandemic was it was very unfortunate, but it was a blessing in disguise for me
Mm.
because I no longer had to drive 2 hours in LA traffic to my client site. And then I used that time to learn editing from YouTube.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like pandemic was I think the whole world's divided. It was either a blessing or a curse, you know?
Truthfully,
Yeah.
it was life-changing for
Yeah.
everyone, for
Oh, for
sure.
sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So you weren't a full-time YouTuber.
Mm-mm.
You're just recently a full-time YouTuber?
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, that's
from, like, a year
amazing.
ago.
A year ago?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so tell me like when did you know like, all right, bye, I'm out. I'm gonna fully jump into this.
It's kind of a long-winded story, so initially, when I knew I wanted YouTube to be my career was when I was still working at Big Four, and I could tell the night and day difference I felt working in two different fields, where I was like, one is so tiring, and like my mind is just blank. It's like soul sucking. And the other
Yeah.
one is like, yes, I'm still tired, but I feel so energized
Right,
after.
right, yeah,
And I was like, oh, is this what it feels like to do something you love?
right.
And that was the first time I understood, like, through a visceral level, what passion feels like. And I'm like, oh,
Mm,
this feels just, it's not easy, but it's easy in a way.
I
And
know
it
exactly
just
what you
like
mean.
makes sense. Um, obviously,
It's like the right amount of challenge
yeah.
that gets you excited.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That puts you in a flow. I think
Exactly.
I think
Yeah.
I had a little bit of ADHD growing up,
I know
and
what
I
you mean. Yeah.
never had a better focus until I was working on videos.
That's exactly how I
I could
feel.
stand at my
Yeah.
standing desk for hours and
Yes.
forget to eat or drink,
Yeah,
and I'll
same.
be like, "Oh, shoot. Like, when did all the time
Yeah,
go?"
that's flow state for you.
It
Wow,
is.
wow,
It
okay.
really is. But I wasn't big enough at the time, and I still had to figure out a way to support my own living. So, um, and you were, I forgot if you asked if my parents were supportive, but
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time, there was an opportunity where I already knew that I was not happy in finance and I wanted to do content creation full time. So there was an opportunity by a really, really big blue chip company that does a lot of creative services. They had this opportunity for creators to be in their residency program. Half the time they will be supporting the brand, and half the time they would have the luxury to work on their own creative endeavors. And I was
That's a
like,
cool program.
that is so perfect.
Yeah.
So applied, and they have like thousands of applicants a year, went through rounds and rounds of interview and portfolio review, got in, and I was like telling my parents, I'm like, okay, regardless if this works out or not, I know content like is my true calling
Right.
and I'm going to be a creator no matter what happens. And they were like, okay, sure, whatever.
Mm.
And then after I got the offer, they just revoked it because they didn't want to sponsor my visa, which was already a blow on my end.
Oh, yeah.
But at the time when I needed support the most, I would say my entire family was like, "You're not talented. You're just lucky. You're going to be irrelevant soon." And they said all the really harsh,
Dang,
um,
man. They're just rubbing salt in the wound at
yeah,
this
they really
point.
were. They were just and they were saying it, they were like, "Oh, we're saying this because we love you. We're telling you the harsh truth that you have no talent. You're not gonna go far with this." A lot of
What?
my
That's harsh
self-doubt nowadays
words.
still stems from that
Yeah,
period.
I see that. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that's a lot of well, they need a lot of healing too. That's a
I
lot of
think so.
yeah. It's I'm
Yeah.
sure they probably didn't mean to hurt you
No,
and they were probably trying to do their best, but man, that
they
is
were coming, I can tell they come from a perspective of love and from protection, but it's just a lack of understanding
it
and
is and a lack
del
of empathy,
d
to be quite honest with
exactly,
you.
deliver it in a
Right.
totally
Yeah.
non-empathetic
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
The busy holiday season is here, and Uncommon Goods makes it less stressful with incredible, hand picked gifts for everyone on your list, all in one spot. And one thing I picked up for myself is this fun game called Sparks. Past, Present, Future, a conversation game. Inspired by the kind of reflections that come to the mind when gazing at the night sky, this insightful game sparks revealing discussions, heartfelt laughter, and meaningful connections. They truly have the best gifts, from holiday host to hostess gifts to the coolest finds for book lovers. Uncommon Goods has something for everyone. So if you want to save 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/afterglow. That's uncommongoods.com/afterglow for 15% off. And don't miss out on this limited time offer. So how are you feeling when all of this was happening? Your visa's revoked and you had this chance to like do this amazing deal of being a creator but also working for a company. So you get the best of both worlds, and
Mhm.
that opportunity just gets revoked, and then your family is just
Yeah.
adding that salt to the wound. Like, so what's happening? What's
It
happening to Zoe right now?
it felt like a massive rug pull because like I said, my parents have been
Mm.
really supportive and they moved to Canada mainly for my education. So that I'm always super, super
Right.
grateful. And it came I think it was like a diverging point of adulthood of truly understanding, oh, I am my own person and my path does not need to line up with my family's
Wow.
path. And that's when true adulthood began for me.
Yeah. Wow. I just got goosebumps. It was like a death of what once was,
It
you
was a
know?
death of
Yeah.
like an old
Because you
identity.
really needed that support at that time. And that was
Absolutely.
almost, sometimes I feel like when you're met with difficult moments like that, something in your brain happens. That survival chip
Yeah.
in your brain, Zoe, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And it was protecting you and basically getting you ready for the next stage, because you basically did all this on your own. To be, I mean, I know a little bit of your story, and you're, to me, I don't like using the term self-made because I don't think a lot of us are self-made, but you are self-made.
Oh, coming from you, that means a lot because I have a lot of respect for how you built everything from like nothing.
Nothing. Yeah,
From
nothing.
nothing. That
Yeah.
that creative magic is just phenomenal.
Yeah, I know you. I mean, you have it. You clearly have it too.
Thank you. I would say though, I was very, very fortunate at the time. That was the hardest that was basically a very, very hard time, and I went through a period of situational depression where I felt stuck. I was
Oh,
like, "I cannot leave my job. I know there's a better path for me. I know my calling is somewhere else, but I can't get out right now because I have my offer revoked. My family doesn't really wanna talk to me
yeah.
because, like, they just don't wanna hear the words of, like, I want to do content, and they're basically telling me to stay."
Right.
And I didn't have any close friends at the time, but
Mm.
that was when I met my first ever like adult best friend. And she really gave me a lot of love and support and really believed in me, even at times that I didn't believe in myself. So I owe a lot to that too.
What was the one thing you think they said that really helped you get through this?
I think she just saw a shine in me and she
Mm.
kept on telling me, um, you're going to do something really marvelous.
Mm.
And yeah, down
You
the
needed that. You
I
needed to hear that
absolutely
because you
needed
needed to hear
that.
it from your family.
Yeah.
You really did. And they couldn't give you that. And she came in at the right place to give
Mhm.
you those words.
For sure. So I always hope to be that person for my friends, for my community in the future because I feel like everyone needs at least like one cheerleader. This path,
Totally.
like you cannot do
Totally.
it alone.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to do it alone.
Who did you have anyone like that in your path?
I feel like we live very parallel lives. So when I was doing my YouTube videos, and I wasn't making that much money. In fact, I was doing YouTube for
Mhm.
2 years straight, no AdSense, because we didn't have AdSense back then. So I
Wow.
didn't even monetize for my videos. It was really something I did because I needed it. I needed something outside of school, that gave me energy, because I thought, the irony is that I thought, I don't want to be a doctor. I spent 8 years going in these medical programs and magnet schools, and I just thought like another 10 years of this, I would literally go insane. So just like you, I
Right?
had college papers about to, and I think when I saw the college papers, it really hit me like,
Mm.
oh man, if I fill this out, I'm basically committed to going in the medical field.
Mhm.
And then I saw the art. college papers, and it was so enticing. I grabbed those and I started filling that out. And same thing, I told my mom. She was sad. She was crying because it's like 8 years I just threw out the window, just like that, to just go to art school to design video games. You know, for her, she was so disappointed. And I got on my knees and I was crying. And I told her, "Mommy, I promise you, I'll make money. I'll make so much money, and I'll support our whole family. I'll figure something out. I always somehow
Wow.
figure something out." And when I went to college, because I it's funny because during that time I also took a little sabbatical,
Mhm.
because I think I needed it, and I was also making content. But YouTube didn't exist back then. It was a blog channel called Zanga. So I was that whole year. I'm actually really grateful for that summer. I'm actually really grateful for that time because I had so much free time to
Mhm.
just make content. So I
Mhm.
made a lot of blog content, and I actually started getting a following, and I became the number one most subscribed person on Zanga, most subscribed
Amazing.
female blogger on Zanga. And I think I needed that win to get me
Yes.
excited. And then the following year, I enrolled in college. And that was the first year we had an anonymous donor that gave us MacBook Pros. All the freshman students got MacBook Pros. And that laptop was the very laptop that got me to make my first YouTube video. And this is why when I meet a lot of artists and creatives, I always give them computers and laptops. Like
Oh,
I've probably given like 50 computers and laptops to so many different
that's
people
amazing. You're
because
changing
it
lives.
changed my life. Like this tool completely changed my life. And so going back to what we were talking about during my rise, my whole family on my mom's side, they were all making fun of me.
Oh.
They were telling my mom, "Why is your daughter making these videos? She's so vain. She's so self absorbed." And
That
they were
hurts
just,
a lot,
yeah,
especially from people who are so close to you, who you don't
yeah.
have the walls up
But they
for.
were projecting. They were projecting. See,
They
I know
were.
what was happening, but back then I didn't know. I was like,
Mm.
man, like, why are they talking crap? And I was telling my mom, your family's toxic. My mom was crying.
Oh,
She's like, I thought you were going to do art school. Like, she's like, why do you keep changing your mind? Like, you want to be a doctor, and then now you go to art school, and now you don't like art school. So the point I was trying to make was there was a moment when art school was too much for me.
mhm.
I was like, I hate these deadlines. My passion became something I hated, art.
Oh, wow.
And so I needed to find a new thing, and that new thing was YouTube. So that was what was therapeutic for me. So I totally get what you're saying about like that side thing that you do that can get you into flow state. That was YouTube for me. But it
Mhm.
was 2 years of grinding, no money, but I something just told me just keep doing this because it makes me happy, one, and two, I think this is somehow delusionally it's going to take me somewhere.
It's not delusion, it's faith.
Yeah. Oh, completely. It was faith, and I'm so glad that you followed that inner voice of yours too. So, okay, you're making. Wait, are you still making videos though during this time?
Yes,
Okay,
I
so
never stopped.
so you were still making videos even though you were like at the lowest.
Yeah.
Dang,
I
girl.
think the online world and reality are sometimes the gap in between sometimes could bring a lot of pain too because people perceive you as
Yeah,
this like happy glamorous person,
totally.
and a lot of times you're going through the roughest crap,
Yeah,
and
you
you have to
put on that
endure that,
mask. Yeah,
and you have to continue showing up for that
yeah.
community who wants to
Mm.
learn and grow with you. Yeah. And I do it like sometimes not for myself, but I know that there's another girl out there who would appreciate the content they would see.
I appreciate it.
Oh my
You know, you're
gosh,
doing
that's
it
so
for me
special.
too, honestly. So you're making all these videos, and I remember you were mentioning earlier that you were a late bloomer in dating.
Oh yeah.
So was this somehow affecting your dating life or anything, or?
I don't think so. I do know that I had a lot of work. I still have a lot of inner work to do when it comes
Mm,
to mindset and everything about dating, but I'm kind of glad I started dating late because I couldn't even figure out who I am as a person yet.
yeah.
Early on, especially in college, I was feeling so lost. Uh, I mean, studying economics wasn't hard for me. It came pretty naturally, but I deep down wanted something more creative. And I was going through a whole glow down in college where, oh my gosh,
We've all been there.
my entire self-image was like crashing, and I had
Mm,
to refine myself. So kind of another blessing in disguise where I gave myself more time to discover who I am as a person and then date it afterwards. But dating in on its own is like another path of self-discovery.
Well, how late? How old were you when
I
you
think
first started dating?
I think I started when I was 22 officially
Wow.
dating.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever dated.
Really?
I've never dated. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. It's so weird. Yeah, I just
Fascinating.
it's weird.
Love just found you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've never experienced when I hear my sister and other people talking about going on a date, Tinder and all of them like, what is that like? I've never experienced that. So when I want to hear now more from you because I feel like I'm just living vicariously through your story right now. Like what was it like? Just
Mm.
being a late bloomer dating at 22 because technically I guess here in America it's normal to even date when you're a teenager,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I mean,
it's in Asia it's different, but like
people in
here.
elementary school had, like,
Yeah,
boyfriends, girlfriends, and I was like,
exactly.
"Damn." I actually thought because, like, growing up, I always loved romantic stories, and I think there's a bit of, like, a hopeless romantic in me starting from very early on. All the K-drama I watched since kindergarten, that's a bit early, by the way, I think. But, yeah,
Oh my
I had
gosh.
I always thought I would start dating very early, and um, I just defeated my own expectations, I
So,
guess.
did you have crushes on like boys at school
Oh, yes,
and you just
absolutely.
and didn't
My
date anyone or didn't talk to them, didn't send them notes or anything?
No, but I
Mm.
feel like, there were a few boys I talked to, like, in middle school or high school, but I think deep down I had this fear for love in a sense where, it just never led to anything, and also my parents were super strict.
I see.
It was so
Yeah.
weird that my mom was like, "Don't date anybody," and then when college hit, she was like, "So, what's happening in dating?" I'm
No
like,
way. What?
that's, like, such a drastic change in
Yeah.
attitude, it makes
That's like a
no sense.
180.
Yeah.
Okay. So 22. Well, what was your first date like?
Oh my god, I'm trying to remember. Actually, it was really funny because I was so new to the dating scene, I didn't know what to expect.
What did Tinder exist? It did, right? Or
I
no?
wasn't on Tinder.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on Hinge,
Okay.
but I just didn't know what to expect. So, first date ever was such like a non-date date where met up with this guy who lived like really close to me, and then he's like, "Hey, want to meet somewhere like very close to my place?" And I was like, "Sure." So I walked all the way there, and then he's like, did you eat yet? Because I didn't, and I'm really hungry because we were supposed to find like a tea place together.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ended up walking around searching for food, and then finally found a place. And then he's like, "Hey, do you want anything?" I was like, "No," because I thought we were grabbing like tea or like coffee, and I already ate. And then he's like, "Okay, cool." So he ordered himself a huge lunch or dinner and then like sat in front of me and ate while like talking. And the funniest thing is we basically walked around back near my place. So I was like, why did I even show up
What
so
the?
far?
Wow.
And then afterwards, like it just ended. I was like, huh, if this is dating, like obviously I knew better like what a date should feel and look
Yeah.
like. But that was my first impression of like a dating app date.
Wow. So underwhelming.
It was super
Holy crap.
underwhelming. Yeah. It was so funny. It was like comical. I was just like, is this how it's supposed to be?
Wow. I guess chivalry's really dead.
It I believe in it still. There are great people out there.
I do. I agree with that too. So I'm sure you've been on tons of dates now. You're kind of like dating expert because you
Oh,
make
I
a lot of
wouldn't say
content around
that.
it.
I wouldn't say that, but I try. No, the summer in Paris, I was talking to a Parisian girl and she's like, "I go on a date every single day." And
What?
I'm like, "I have a lot of respect. That's like a 9 to 5. I cannot do that.
That's
Teach
a
me
lot
your
of
ways."
work.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of free meals too for her. Good
I
for
don't know.
her.
I don't know if I want that many meals.
That's crazy. So now that you live in LA,
Mhm.
what do you think of the dating scene?
Um, I think a lot of people don't know what they want and they
Mm,
enter the dating scene being confused. And when you have a lot of people who are not very intentional and are confused about their own intentions, it leads to a lot of chaos.
Would you consider yourself like a red flag queen?
I wouldn't say that. I tend to give people more of a shot than they deserve sometimes.
Okay. But what are your red flags then?
Oh, inconsistency is a
Oh,
huge one.
yeah.
Huge, huge one. Especially when words don't align with actions.
That's good. Wow.
Because
You have good values.
I feel like men are really good at talking nowadays. They're expert in promising the moons and stars. And maybe because I'm a creative, I have really powerful imagination as well. So leave with along with a powerful speech, like you start to project a romantic future
Mm.
very early on, and that's very unhealthy.
Ooh,
But
okay.
definitely been through that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's another one? Inconsistency.
I would just say like lack of respect
Yeah,
is a
that's a big
huge
one for
one.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely want a respectful partner to be around you. Why else would you want someone who disrespects you in your energetic circle?
It's true. I mean, I feel like you're light years ahead of so many people. You're so mature.
I
No, honestly, I mean, I don't even know about dating. So I can't even imagine like going out into the world right now with like all these apps and everyone's just not present, you
Mm,
know? Like I look back on the old days and then even the 90s, like, wow, like I romanticize it a lot. It's like times were really simpler back then. Like
I
my mom
know.
was telling me, like, yeah, I touched your father's hand and then we just knew that we were meant to be. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, he
That's
was the
so
first person
cute.
who ever held my hand. I was like, and that was it? And she's like, yeah.
Wow.
I was like, that's
That's
crazy.
beautiful.
It's so
No,
innocent,
my
but it's
parents
crazy.
too, which is why whenever I can't really talk to my parents about dating because A, they don't understand,
Yeah,
B, they're a little judgmental.
of
My
course, yeah.
parents were each other's like first love, and my mom has never dated anybody else or has faced a guy who's like not committing to her or
Yeah,
is like showing inconsistent actions. So whenever I bring up these like issues or
yeah,
challenges I face in dating, she's always like so confused. I feel
yeah.
like, yeah,
Well, it's probably a different world for them.
super.
Yeah. And I don't know which one is worse or bad. It's just different.
It's
It's
very
just
different.
different,
But
honestly.
honestly, I would prefer to meet someone organically if possible. Yeah,
Mm.
it's just that the apps are a better way to expand your network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know like a lot of my friends, they use these dating apps now just to network.
Oh,
They don't
wow.
even use it to date. They just want to meet people and
It's the new
platonically.
LinkedIn,
I think so. I totally think so. It's interesting though, but
isn't it?
I can't even imagine filling out the profile thinking about like are you good at that? Like
No, I'm not.
really?
I feel like my profile is very bad. I don't update the prompts and I haven't really put like I made it up in like a few minutes, which is really bad. Which is probably why I struggle a little in terms of dating and finding like the people I want to match with, but yeah, not the best profile. So,
Who would you say is your ideal person?
oh, I figured this out pretty early on, like the three qualities I want in a
Mm,
partner. Um driven, like
mm,
very ambitious
we
driven,
love that.
has discipline,
Yes.
so
That's hot.
important.
Very
Discipline
hot.
is high.
Yeah.
And third one is just to be kind.
Oh
Have a kind
yeah. Oh, that's
heart.
like the hottest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I realize like I don't know if this is a pattern or it's just it reflects something on me, but I always ended up meeting people who's like one or two, but like never all of the above.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wonder because you're a public figure and
Mhm.
it's probably so easy to look you up, reverse image Google your face, you know? Um, do you feel like sometimes like naked or exposed or vulnerable when you enter into the scene or when you meet someone?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. When I date someone or especially if I meet people on the apps, I usually don't tell them about my social media
Mm.
unless if I really really like them. And because I want them to meet I want whenever I meet someone, I want them to meet the full version of me.
Right.
It's not that social media is not me, but it's only like a snippet of me.
Yeah.
And we're also multidimensional and I want them to understand who I am as a person in real life first
Yeah.
before meeting that online
Oh,
version of
I know
me.
exactly what you mean. I also feel like the moment they see your numbers and you're popular, something in them switch, they change. Like I see
Yeah.
it even in the eyes.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean.
Also, some people are pretty judgmental about social
That's, oh,
media.
totally,
Remember
totally.
I
Yeah.
told you the story where I went on a date and then um I didn't tell the person I was like working as a content creator as well, like that I am a content creator, and I only told them about my marketing role in tech. And we just came across a conversation about social media influencing and he's like, "Yeah, man, I could never have enough like I don't what was he saying? He's like, I'm not I'm not shameless enough to do social media and be an
Oh, that's some
influencer." And I'm like,
judgment. Wow.
"Okay, okay. Taken
Wow.
noted."
Ooh, it's like crossed out.
Yeah.
On to the next.
Yeah.
That's yeah, I get people like him because it's like they're kind of like people who see people like us like the parody version of what creators are.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, the ones who just go to Coachella and they just go to all these they just yes life to everything. That's what I call them, like yes lifing.
Mm.
And we're not like that,
I feel like
clearly.
even those creators, they still put a lot of work behind whatever they put online.
That's true too.
It's
It's a
never like
job. Yeah.
yeah, it
It
is
is
a
a
job.
job. Yeah. But I could see why most people see it as they don't take it seriously. They
Mm.
don't take it seriously. I get it. But it's also, you know, this is a new industry.
It's so
It's
new.
so new and it's so misunderstood.
It is.
So misunderstood. And, but I always tell people now, especially, you know, post elections, like alternative media creators, they have a lot of influence. Like we see that now. Like
Mhm.
they really have massive influence and I only think it's only going to continue to grow from here.
I think so, yeah. And I feel very grateful to be part of the movement or whatever you call
Mhm.
it, to be in the action, to be shaping this industry.
Oh,
At the same
totally.
time, yeah, very honored.
I always tell people relationships, they're kind of like they're like lessons. They're lessons to your inner self. When you meet someone, they mirror you, vice versa.
So true.
And I'm curious to know if you've ever met anyone that revealed a lot to you or completely shifted how you see yourself in the world.
I think each person I dated was a lesson on its own, but there was one person who really taught me a lot about myself through the experience.
Mm.
Um, oh, so many things. For one, I realized that I have avoidant tendencies.
Oh, I do too.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
I I realized through this whole time interacting with him and like our dating saga that I was very uncomfortable with my own emotions. A lot of the times, I think because I felt abandoned through childhood,
Yeah.
I kind of subjugated. Like I almost saw love equivalent to being hurt because like loving someone is in order to love someone you have to be so vulnerable
Oh,
and you
yeah.
open
You
yourself
have
up
attachment now.
for
Yeah.
wounding.
Yeah.
And for the longest time I could not, like I was just straight up lying to myself saying, "Oh, I don't like this person as much,"
Oh, oof.
and so on.
Mm.
I don't care as much until one point, like when you suppress your emotions so much, it will only come and bite you back. And when I realized that, I was like, oh my gosh. Like for this whole time, I could not be honest with my own emotions. And even worse, I felt so scared to voice that out because growing up, especially in an Asian culture, we never said I love you in our family. My parents never said it to me. I never said it to them, even though it was kind of understood and felt through actions. But growing up, I never felt comfortable voicing out my emotions. And um, yeah, with this person, like I struggled, man. Like for months and months, I could not tell him how I feel.
But you felt something though.
Yeah,
Wow.
I felt
Wow.
something, and then only until I was like, I think this person got a girlfriend when we weren't talking anymore,
Yeah.
that really hurt me, and I was like, "Fuck it," like, Sorry, I probably shouldn't say.
No, no,
I
it's
was just like,
fine.
screw it. Like, I mean, nothing's when I was so much more detached to the outcome,
Right.
I was like, I'm just going to do it for me. Like the outcome, the win is not the outcome. The win is like who do I become
Yeah,
through the process.
of
And
course.
I want to be someone more courageous and someone who I could like respect myself
Right,
more,
right,
not so much a coward in hiding my emotions. So
right. Speak your needs.
speak
Yeah.
my needs, which I'm still figuring out like my
Mhm.
emotional needs because
Mhm.
growing up, I always felt kind of shameful for having emotional needs and prided myself
That's
being
trauma.
hyper independent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's trauma, girl. Yeah,
totally.
love, true love is when you truly, truly can be completely vulnerable,
Mm,
open-hearted, reveal everything, and that person
yeah,
just receives it and holds that space and know and you're safe. You're safe with them.
yeah. It's scary,
It is.
which
It's
is why.
very scary.
Oh, another
It's really
pattern I
scary.
realized is that I kept on dating people who are kind of in LA but not based in LA.
Oh gosh.
That's true
It's
avoidance.
really
It's a
avoidant.
pattern,
Yeah.
yeah,
Where when did you become aware of that pattern?
I
After
think
like the second time or third time or
after the second time
wow.
with this person, yeah. So,
Wow.
I basically it feels so uncomfortable. I wanted to, like, throw up afterwards,
Oh my
but I
gosh.
told him I liked him, and then that felt so cathartic to me, and afterwards, I was like, "Hey, this didn't kill me." And life is so short. I do like to think about death a lot, where I
Mhm.
can't just take everything for granted, and I feel so much gratitude and mm, just like it puts me in the mindset of more gratitude and makes me think more intentionally about how I want to spend my time. And when I think about how everything's so brief and tentative,
Yeah.
um, I realized that I haven't said I love you to my parents. And
Wow.
being able to tell a guy I like him really helped me gain the courage to say I love you to my parents for the first time
That's
this
so
year.
healing.
That was like a big moment,
Yeah.
especially after the whole like kind of chaos with content creation that created a chasm between me and my family where
Mm.
I think for the past 2 years ever since I started doing content, I felt a little distant from my family as well since they were trashing on my career,
Yeah.
and I felt like I had a home. I I felt like I didn't have a home I could return to. I always felt like I no longer have that safe space held for me. And to step forward to tell my parents that I love them, and when they said it back, it was such a whole circle of healing
Wow.
moment. So
Wow.
yeah, even though like dating, I don't think it panned out exactly like I wanted it to, but I'm really grateful for all the people I've encountered and the lessons I've learned
Oh yeah.
that really help heal me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's revealing who you are. We learn so much about people through relationships.
Yeah.
They're gifts. To me, they're all gifts. Even the bad ones, they're gifts.
But I'm still bullish on love. I'm still very bullish
Oh,
on
you
love.
should be. Well, you are love. We're actually love. Love is actually everything. The whole universe, everything is, I mean, interstellar. Like love
Mhm.
is the only thing that can transcend time and space. I really believe that. And it's what everyone, it's truly the most powerful motivation, too. Like, I truly believe everyone here, even those who are just tired of life, they still wake up and they put their feet on the ground and they go off into the world because of love.
And you are a true value giver. Like your heart is
Oh,
so big and warm and it lights the world up. Like it lights this room up first of all, and it lights the world up. I've seen you like speak and the faces in the audience just like change. You could just tell you
yeah.
felt that like true deep impact.
I really care. Like, I
Yes.
really care. And we live in a world where caring is not considered good. It's considered a weakness. And I want to change
True.
that. I want to change that. I want to show people that kindness is not weakness. Kindness is actually strength. It's
Mhm.
bravery. It's
Yes.
courageous,
Yes.
and being vulnerable is also the same. It's being courageous.
Mhm.
And I think instead of trying to tell people that, instead of trying to tell people that, I think the best way to give that message is to be an embodiment of that. So
So
that's why I'm
true.
trying to embody more of what I believe in, you know?
Absolutely. I think you're the perfect embodiment of someone who dared to choose love over fear, and you're inspiring millions and
Yeah,
millions, including
I
myself.
am fearless. A little
Yes.
delusional fearless, almost like, you know?
It's faith-based
It is
fearless.
faith-based, but it's also like I have nothing to lose. I've always thought that, like, what do I have to lose? Why not just try? Because life really is gonna pass by just like that. And there's one thing that a
So
lot of
true.
they did a survey asking a lot of people who were in hospices and even in elderly homes, like, what are your biggest regrets? What are things that you want to tell young people? And there's an underlying theme amongst all of them, which is, I wish I said the things that I was never able to say in that moment.
Wow.
And so it goes back to
Yeah,
how you suppress so much,
I
right?
know. Yeah.
And I can only imagine as you continue to evolve who you're going to become, someone that is going to be even more extraordinary. And imagine that impact, what that's going to do for this generation.
Thank you so much. Excited for both of our growth
I
journey.
know, same.
It never stops.
I
That's a
know.
fascinating
It's
thing
so
about
fun.
growth.
I love our world so
I
much.
know.
I love it. And I wish, I think the biggest thing I wish is, I don't know if you get a lot of hate or
Oh, yeah,
jealousy.
definitely.
I wish those people could just know, like, on this side, it's beautiful, and you can also be on this side. Because I truly believe a lot of them project because they probably think, why is she famous, not me? Or, they picked the fear. They stuck with fear and not with love and taking that
Mhm.
chance. And I hope that I hope that we will continue just showing up, and even to them, that they can take that leap of faith.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm really sending a lot of love and prayers to those people as well because all that negativity and judgment is weighing themselves down and they're really doing themselves a huge
I
disservice.
know they are.
I understand because I've
Yeah,
had a lot of judgment and ego within
totally.
myself too,
Totally. Yeah.
and that was not a good place to be
It
in.
wasn't. When you're out of that place, there's something so, it's like you feel like the creativity comes back, the happiness comes back,
Yeah.
the state of jealousy and like resentment and pettiness, that state is so heavy
Mhm.
consciously. And yeah, like, but I feel like it's that, remember what I was mentioning? It's a mirror thing. Like, we
Mhm.
mirror to each other.
So true. Oh, and like one last thing I learned about dating is that I have to be radically accountable for my own happiness and peace. It does
Totally.
not come from anybody
Yep.
else.
100%. Yep.
So right now I'm just like manifesting love and I'm so
Yes.
excited to just wholeheartedly love someone um and yeah, show up and hope they do the same for me and build something beautiful together.
I can't wait to meet this person.
I
Looking
can't
forward.
either.